Oh, it's beautiful. We're recording and I want to compliment Helena on her necklace. It's gorgeous.
Thanks. I bought this. I just went to my parents' house last weekend and I found this old jewelry box that is mine. And I found this beautiful crazy sun in there that I bought ages ago. And that just reminds me of that. Like, I've always been into the symbolism that comes from astrology.
And I love that you're a Leo sun.
I know. So yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Now I'm like, come on, sun, let's shine, shine, shine. Let my Leo sun shine.
And it's right on your heart chakra. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I have a heart here.
And Leo, and you got a heart there. Look at you, all Leo energy today.
Yeah, I am actually wearing purple.
Sometimes I forget you have a Leo sun.
I know, me too. Ever since I saw my chart and I realized that I have so much Capricorn, I think of myself as a Capricorn. I don't think as myself as a Leo anymore, which has to change because it's just because I understood so much about me for that. So the pendulum really swung like,
yeah,
I thought I was a Leo. No, I'm so much Capricorn. And now I feel like I need to focus more on the remember the Leo part.
Your Capricorn part is the inner world, which is why I feel way more Gemini than Aries, way more Gemini. But you and I both have the same moon and same rising.
The same
so
rising.
you have moon Capricorn and Capricorn.
Oh, you mean like that? Yeah.
Yeah. I have Gemini moon and Gemini rising. So we both have this interesting combination of the outer layer of us and the inner emotional world. And that, I think, makes us inside feel very much like that sign. Yes. But I know people see the Aries. I know they do.
Sure I mean, I think of you as Gemini. I think when I see you, I think, when I think about you and astrology, I think Gemini.
Yes. Yes. But we're Ram and Goat. So we took the Aries from you.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Nothing makes sense.
No, that's because my sun sign's in the 11th house and my Mercury. So we have to be weird like that. We got to trip people up a little bit.
Yeah. And both of our moons is in the 12th house, like it's behind there. So
yes, which fits our theme today.
Yes, which is
past lives. Past lives. If you've listened to this show at all, you will know I'm fascinated with them. And I find it interesting that I'm fascinated with them because I'm a very futuristic thinker, which again, Mercury in the 11th, but my heart, my moon, and my wound, Chiron, are both in the 12th, past lives. So that's where like my heart is back there with all of the experiences I've had and my healing wound of Chiron, but my mind and my sun sign are like, forward, please.
Yeah. But also to understand the future. And I feel like we're always going in circles, like with everything on this planet. So, everything that we're like, that's trending right now, like, symbolisms, astrology, like herbalism, all of these things are ancient,
but they're coming
knowledges, and it's coming back. So it's like the future is the past.
So I was just watching a show on Gaia Television, Gaia TV. If you don't have a subscription, I highly recommend the $7 a month because it's really, really good. But we were watching an episode on, like, I can't even remember what the name of it because we watched so many cool shows on there, but it talked about the spiral and I think it was called Kundalini Awakening or Kundalini Rising or something like that. But I explained what Kundalini energy is because I had no idea. I sing songs with it in and I hear people use that word. And I'm like, what is that? But it's that idea and concept of this spiral, but the spiral gets bigger and bigger each time. But it is this cyclical force that is our universe. It's the makeup of the galaxy. And they used all these really cool computer graphics that we didn't have when I was going to school, but they visually showed us how the planets impact in the orbits. And it was really cool how it's this spirally thing. And you're exactly right that it is the cyclical thing. So, of course, past lives would affect us. Like, why wouldn't they?
Mm.
And I know there's some people's beliefs and religions that don't believe in past lives, and that's fine because you can really pull it into generations then too, right? It's the generational cycle of the lineage you're currently in this existence, and or the lineage of yourself, your own soul's journey, right? Because we
Mm.
keep playing with the same people over and over and over. So we get
Mm.
these, they just show up in different forms.
Yeah.
And my daughters, Gertie and Gwen, are 20 months apart, and their Venus and Mars are 1 degree apart. And when I saw this after, I think it was shortly after Guinevere was born, I saw this in their chart. My brain instantly got this like hit, which I call like my download or my like intuitive, like where I didn't think it, right? Like someone gave it to me. And I was like, oh, they were married before. Like it was just this instantaneous knowing inside of me, which is how I get a lot of my intuitive messages. And the thing in their chart that showed up so prominently was Gwen's Venus and Gertie's Mars. And I was like, Gertie was the husband and Gwen was the wife. And it very much
Mm.
felt like once Gertie got here, Gwen was like, wait a minute, wait for me. And they bicker like an old married couple. I'm not even joking. They always like they can't be without each other, but they can't stand to be with each other, but they love each other so much. And it feels like this really old energy, really like they've been
Yeah.
doing this for a while.
Yeah. That must be interesting to, I mean, of course, it's everyday stuff too. You get annoyed, but also when you put those glasses on and you remember that, it's very interesting to observe and to
Yeah,
watch.
we'll be having
Did you share this with them?
they actually told when I mentioned it to them, I said, do you girls think that maybe you were together in a past life? I think it was Gertie that said, oh yeah, we were married. I was the husband. Like she, boop. And the
Yeah.
fact that she said this like years later, after I recognized this right away after Gwen's birth, I was like, huh, all right. And that's it. Like my intuitive stuff has been going on for a while, but it's only this decade now that I've really started to put the conscious awareness on it, right? Like I'm wearing the hat of consciousness of my connectivity to all of the woo.
Mm.
And now that I really see it and understand it more in charts, and I've been reading charts for a while now, and a lot of them, I'm seeing so many patterns.
Yeah.
Oh, the past life patterns are just rolling off of people, right? They just are.
Mm.
And I'll get downloads, I'll get hits of images from past lives of a somebody, like hanging themselves for financial issues, and now in this life they've
Mm.
got financial issues, and like that stuff just
Mm.
keeps happening over and over. So I'm so glad we're talking about this today.
Yeah, me too. And I just started thinking about this thing because if you're not sure if you believe in past lives or like think think that it's a very like super crazy far out idea, I just started thinking about like when was I convinced that I believe in past lives?
Question.
Yeah, and I remember thinking about this a lot when I was younger, like what happens when you die? What
Yeah.
happens when you die? And remember testing out a lot of theories in my head, like, do I think this happens or that? And I think when I was a teenager, I started believing in reincarnation
Mm-hmm.
uh, because it was the only thing that made sense.
This is how I feel too. Once I
Yeah,
heard about reincarnation, my brain went, oh, that's it. Like it
exactly.
just made sense.
Yeah.
There was so much in me that my understanding of life, I don't remember what age it was, but I remember feeling that. It felt like puzzle pieces floated down from the sky into my life of understanding. And the puzzle pieces just fit in and made a bigger picture and a bigger picture. And the more I learn about spirituality and all of the strangeness that I didn't get taught as a child, right? The Akashic records and human design and astrology, da da da. The more puzzle pieces keep falling into place very naturally. And I'm like, well, look at this shit.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
it just makes sense.
it just makes sense. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
sure how to explain it any other way, but
Mm.
that's perfect description.
Yeah, because I remember thinking a lot about if something keeps making new energies and new souls all the time, I mean, where does old souls go? And there can't be enough space. And what happens to and so the only thing that made sense is that you reincarnate, the soul comes back, like it's the same. I mean, I'm not so sure if I think the number of souls on this planet varies, but I think that and maybe between different universes and timelines and whatever, but
Right.
we come back in different shape and form. Even the thing that makes the most sense is like, if you look at it physically, when I die, I want to be put in the ground so that I can become, worm food or something, like
Yes.
food for the
Give
trees.
back to the environment.
Exactly. So something will eat me, and that energy will go to the tree, make a beautiful apple that someone will eat, and then it will just go round and around. And that is also reincarnation. Like my energy keeps on living.
Yes.
But now we're talking about souls, not
Yeah.
energy.
So if anyone is looking for more information on this, if you're ready, you might not be ready. I don't know if you'll feel pulled to it unless you are ready. Dolores Cannon is a woman who is passed on now. Her daughter Julia Cannon has taken over her business, and Dolores Cannon started to do hypnosis with people and put them into this regression state where she would walk them down into another life, a past life, and she'd drop them in on a mountain and they would explore and tell her what they're seeing. But then there started to be at a certain timeline while she was doing this, she did this for decades. During her studies, she discovered a new theme emerging, that instead of the people she was working with, she dropped them into the mountain. Instead of dropping them onto the mountain to explore their past life, they told her, I want to go up. And she'd say, well, okay, go. And so they would go up, and she'd, ask them questions. Can you describe where you are? What's going on? And they would describe themselves as an energy being or a light. And they're so, they can move so freely, and they have so much understanding of everything. And now they're on this planet, and like, it was very clearly other beings from other existences, other realms. It was very clearly, which I find so interesting. This is where it really kind of gets trippy in my mind, is like, aliens have been always this little like being in my head, right, in movies with like the big beady eyes and whatever. And now I'm starting to think of them more in connection with spirit, and spirit in connection with past lives and past life. And again, we have this the spiral thing going. But Dolores Cannon's books, she ended up channeling and writing, like, I want to say 50 some books. And she has a book called The New Earth and the Three Waves of Volunteers. And it talks about beings from other existences that chose to come to Earth and incarnate to help raise the vibrational frequency. Because when World War II happened, the atom bombs didn't just affect Earth. The energetic force that came off of our Earth radiates forever into galaxies beyond our comprehension. And if human existence had kept going with that, in that frequency field, we would have very easily destroyed everything, like the whole thing. And it was very interesting, as Dolores was doing these regressions with people, she was finding that these people she was working with were volunteers, and they had chose to come here to help raise the vibrational frequency, because they couldn't have a direct impact from another way. They had to come in and be a human. And we have so many humans in existence right now, 8 billion. And a lot of us, I would say the majority of us, want peace. We want happiness. We want to just exist in this beautiful space, and we want to get along. And there's very few who really have this war energy. But for the most part, I feel like the vibration is growing and it is rising. There's always going to be resistance, though, when we change any kind of frequency shift, or we move to any kind of new channel on the dial. It's going to be static first, right? So it's very interesting to merge all of these ideas together. This is very recent for me, very recent. I want to say the last like year and a half, maybe, since Saffron Felix time frame. So anybody interested, Dolores Cannon's books, I started with the book Between Death and Life, which was a great beginner starter book for me. And then I just kind of dove into whatever felt good next. And I've read quite a few of them since then. And they just, Helena, they just make so much sense. Like they just make
yeah, we should put these in
oh, for sure.
In the notes, but also on Instagram. We'll put them in a story highlight, so they're kept there forever.
Good idea.
The names of the books.
I love that.
We're talking about today.
Because
and I just want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just had a very trippy thought that I've never thought before. But when you were talking about the frequency going from Earth out to out into the universe, with astrology, you always think about the energy going in towards us to our planet, and I'm wondering what kind of energy are we sending out? Like, because Uranus is Uranus energy, Neptune is Neptune. What do we have? What energy are we sending out?
Such a good question.
Yeah. Anywho, continue.
I love that. No, I love that idea. I love that idea because my brain said, well, it depends on what decade we're in, right? It depends on the frequency that's hitting us because it'll ricochet off, right? So we're all in this dance where the other planets are and how they're hitting us is how that's ricocheting off like a mirror, right? We've got a bunch of water. So I feel like it depends on the other planets.
Yeah. We have a very interesting planet, the one that we live on.
Yeah, we do. We've been talking about this a lot lately, just with our life being so heavy lately and so much responsibility. And my husband and I are like, are we done with our Earth school journey yet? Like,
never.
I don't want to check out early, but like,
when's graduation?
Right? Like, can I get a timeline here?
Class of 2062.
Right? Exactly. Like, am I going to 2100? Where am I going here, man? Like, am I going to be like one of those centennials that makes it to 116 or 117? Like, let me know, because I got to know this now.
By the way, in English, do you have a name for our planet? What do you call our planet? Do you just say planet Earth, or do you have a name? Just because Earth. We in Swedish we have another name, which is Tellus. Like that's the name of our planet. Tell, like tell us, but in one word. And that it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean Earth or planet or something. It's the name. It's like you give a name to all the planets, and also our planet has a name, and the name of our planet is Tellus.
I'm so kind of speechless right now.
Yeah, we say planet Tellus. I had to look this up. It has to be. Why do you not have? Why do we have it if you don't have it?
You're listening. You should. My face is just dumbfounded right now.
I feel like I need to Google this just to prove it to you that it's not a joke.
No, I've never heard of Earth called anything other than Earth.
Planeten we call When I Google Planeten Tellus in Swedish, Planet Tellus, it says Planet Tellus, the Earth. That's us.
Where does the word come from? What's the Swedish like history of the word?
Good idea. Good question.
Okay, if you are listening and you speak other languages and there is another name for Earth in your language, please tell me. I really kind of floored right now, and I don't know why this is so intriguing to my brain.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, it's Latin. That's all I know so far. Okay, let me just check here. Tellus, Latin, maybe they
gotta brush up on my Latin apparently.
So Tellus in Latin apparently means landing. What the fuck? It means landing? What? Oh my god.
Alien-esque.
Oh, I have goosebumps. I just put in Google Translate Tellus from Latin to Swedish. Landing. It means landing.
Well, that sounds awfully like some being came down from the sky and your people went, hey, look there's a landing.
Why does no one talk about that? The fact that our planet is called landing.
Interesting. The more you know. The more you know. I think you would love the Dolores Cannon books. I
Yeah.
actually, my plan right now, I'm saving up because that's a grown-up thing to do. I'm saving up money to do her program, which is called QHHT, and become a QHHT practitioner, where I will take people into the regression and do past life exploration with them. So, knowing astrology and being able to take them into regression makes me feel so
Oh,
excited. Like, oh my God, I can't even tell you. It gets me all like giddy, like a little kid going to the park.
yeah, this feels like such a natural thing for you because that's when we talk off recording, we go there sometimes, and you told me a lot of things about my past life too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah. They show,
should we dive into that about like how you can look for
let's do
things or
that.
what we look for in people's charts?
Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to pull up my chart just as a visual example for anybody watching, and then we can kind of describe. So when you're looking at your chart, there's a couple areas to check out. So for sure, 12th house. Like that's just kind of a no-brainer. That's the energy of life, or the slice of pie of life that really is concerned with all things
What
spiritual.
happened before?
Yep.
Yeah, like yeah,
All things
past
spiritual.
lives, generational stuff, whatever you
Yep.
want to call it.
All
Mm,
of the woo, the witchiness, the occult. Yes, Scorpio is also occult, but Pisces deals, the Pisces house or 12th house deals with that whole realm of out there-ness. Like
yes,
all of the out there.
exactly.
So
It's the house that's connected to Neptune, and Neptune has no boundaries. So you can think of it like that. It's like
I love that.
anything that you can't touch, like dreams, for example. Dreams is a very 12th house thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very 12th house. For example, I have a very good friend. Her, we found each other on the internet. We both have 11th house sun signs. Hers is in Aquarius, mine's in Aries. Her Jupiter, natal Jupiter, is on top of my natal Mercury, and they are in Pisces. They're both at 25 degrees Pisces. Her and I have so much psychic connection, it's trippy. We will say things through the internet at the same time, kind of like you and I have done, right? Like very similar, you and I. We will just intuitively know things about each other. And then Neptune is currently like hovering over the top of these two planets for us currently. So we're getting super activated, and she does animal communication. Her name is Jade. Hey, my Jade. And we do she does animal communication and Reiki. I do astrology and intuitive coaching, and like we do woo-woo shit, you know? But we met through the internet, and we both knew when we met in person that we were sisters in a past life, not only sisters, but twins. And it feels like a couple lifetimes ago, like we've been on Earth a few times since then, but we shared cellular DNA at one point. And now, since then, we keep finding each other in weird ways. Isn't that
Mm,
crazy? Like, we just know that.
yeah,
Neither of
yeah,
us have actively seen this life, but it's like this intuitive, like 100% my body goes, yep. Mm-hmm. Like, no
yeah,
doubts. Like, don't even question me. I'll punch you in the face.
yeah, yeah. And what do you think the reason is that we travel together? Because, like you said earlier, like the family, everyone here, like the family around you, chosen or biological, um, you know, you travel through different lives
Yes.
together. But maybe your mom used to be your cousin in a past life, or your
Right.
best friend used to be your pet,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. Yeah. These are like, I think Dolores says it, and a couple other books I've read by other authors, and Gaia, all the people on Gaia. We travel in what they're called soul circles or soul groups. And this is my favorite. One of the episodes I was watching on Gaia said, when you choose to incarnate, it's almost like you have a little checklist, and you have your soul group, and you all have this like gathering or powwow beforehand, and like, hey, I really need to work on this. I'm going to go through some, real deep, dark experiences, some transformational journeys, maybe with, addiction or something. I need somebody to help me out and, be my support. And then this person over here goes, oh, I have to really work on giving and my service stuff in this life. So I'll come and be your service buddy. Right. So like we
Mm.
literally get to choose this energy that we are born with, and that's
Yeah.
why we come at the same, the time we did. That's why some people have to wait a very long time to have children, 5.5 years, so you can get your triple Taurus stubborn son, right? Like
Mm.
that's the
Yeah.
energy I needed in my life, and that's who he needed to be. So I had to learn
Mm.
my lessons in patience from many past lives. It's just interesting to me when you put it all together. But for
Mm.
anyone who's got 12th house planets, you've got some interest, some connection, and some healing to do from past lives, for sure. And my understanding of this is the planets or planets that are there are the emphasis or the area that you really have to work hard on healing. So for me, it's emotional stuff. And when I look at my generational stuff, yep, I see it there. And when I feel it in my soul, yep, it's there too. Like I have some deep emotional healing to do, to soften, to understand my feelings, feel my feelings, honor my feelings. There's just a lot of emotional stuff, and then learn how to have a healthy balance between my feelings from my lineage, my past lives, and then for me, my nervous system in my everyday existence. Uranus in
Mm.
the sixth
Because
house.
exactly, you're pointing
Yep.
at the opposite there, which is
Yep.
Uranus.
Yep. And then my wound, of course. So I've got past
Mm.
life issues with all things Taurus and food, money, relationships. Yep. 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 And I feel them coming out big time in this world, in this life. So it's almost like stopping the trauma and not letting it go forward. Right. So it doesn't have to be trauma per se, but stopping the unhealthiness or the low frequency, the low vibration, and raising it up, going up a level. This is my
Mm.
understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And also with that, because you said about the moon in the 12th house, that you need to work on, uh, your emotions, and maybe um yeah, learn about your emotions, because people with moon in the 12th house, like me and both of our partners, also have this position.
Yep.
It's very like like when something is in the 12th house, you can say that it's sort of behind a curtain, because you can't see it. You can't really pull it out when you want to, because it's hidden. You don't know. It's like you're blind. You're like, but I can't reach it. So people with moon in 12th house usually feel like it's hard to handle emotions, hard to talk about your emotions. You are pretty secretive. You don't want to flaunt your emotions, and that's the work. It's because it's so uncomfortable, because we don't know we don't know how to work with them, and that is exactly what we need to work on. We need to work on how to,
Actually feeling
in a
them.
healthy way, talk, feeling them,
Actually feeling them.
actually
It
feeling
is
them.
so easy for me for Gemini Gemini moon, to let it kind of blow away in the breeze and not have to deal with it, right? Until enough of it, the wind comes back and then the storm comes and then like slaps me upside the head. Like I have to deal with it. And when I do feel the feelings, they're really intense and they really overwhelm me. And it does feel very stormy like. It's got that kind of, Neptune energy with that watery Poseidon energy, that storm, and it feels really out of control sometimes. And my lesson now at 41 has been just to find my safe people that I know can hold me, all of me, not part of me, not try to fix me, but they can hold the space and let me feel.
Mm.
That has been an interesting journey to
Mm.
find those proper people, and to make sure I articulate to them, I don't need you to fix it. I just have to feel it. You know, that's hard. 12th house moon placement is a tough one. And it is interesting that we have partners with 12th house moons as well. Talk about incarnation crap, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And we can talk a bit later also about how you can find where you can look in signature charts, like with you and a partner, you and a friend, to see if you have past life connections, like, big ones.
Yep.
Big
Yep.
ones.
Big
Yeah.
ones.
But what else? South Node.
South Node. So South Node
Mm.
is not usually on most charts unless you put it on. So that means you have to look to your North Node, which is a little horseshoe guy with a T in the middle. Your North Node is the spiritual involvement of your soul. Like that's the direction it's headed. The South Node is its comfort zone. Been there, done that, which I find interesting that my South Node is 18 degrees Capricorn, and I love me.
Did you say Capricorn?
Capricorn, did I?
Freudian. Very Freudian.
18, that's funny. It's Freudian slip. 18 degrees. See, I can't even. I'm so tired. 18 degrees Capricorn. And I love me some Capricorns. I love them. I'm married to them. My mother's one. I'm doing podcasts with them. My friends all have dominant Capricorn placements. My son incarnated, my firstborn incarnated with 3 placements in the 10th house of Capricorn. I was like, I'm not going to have any Capricorn energy this life, but I'm sure going to manifest that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have no planets in Capricorn in this chart. You only have your South Node.
Yep.
There. And yeah, so South Node is what you're coming from, where you can also think about it, like how to use it in this life is sort of like sometimes where you can slip when things get a little bit too comfortable.
Yeah.
The energy where you end up in when you're not trying to evolve.
So easy. Yep.
Yeah, so for you, your North Node is in Cancer in the first house. That's where you're supposed to go, and this will come naturally to you, but you also have as people, we also have to make choices. We make choices, and if you're just a super comfortable person, you don't want to make any choices, and you just want to never do anything new,
right.
then you will live a lot in your South Node.
Yes.
Sometimes it feels a little bit bad to be there.
It's easy for me to get into workaholic mode.
Yeah.
Easy. I was in that for much of my life in my 20s. Real easy to get workaholic. Oh, I love it. Actually, something inside my, and then I think about
Spiller
Cancer.
calls it your Achilles heel.
And then I think about Cancer North Node, and I think about parenting, and I go, ugh.
Yeah, because that's what that's what you're growing into. But yeah, no, my South Node is in Virgo, and when I just slip into things,
Yeah.
I can slip into this thing of just taking care of others and being this sort of nurse, or like the responsibility again, just and also that others expect that from me because I keep doing it. I'm the nurse and just fixes things and makes sure things are going okay and takes care of others pretty much, and not myself. That's where I end up when I get too comfortable, when I get just too stuck in like a pattern that is very, very, because this is my past life.
Yeah,
so
systematic is the word that keeps coming to mind. Yeah. Systematic. You said pattern. I was like, yep, her systems.
Yeah.
Right. It's easy to get into that. That's interesting. Yeah. We both have North Nodes in watery signs.
I know.
And both of us are like, ugh. I can feel it. I can feel us both going, eh.
About the water?
Yeah. It's so like, I don't mind it, but man, that earthy energy just feels so much better sometimes. It's that it feels like I know what I'm doing there, right? Like I can work. Work is something I've got going.
That is yeah.
And you know, with you and your South Node in Virgo, it's like we got that. But now we have to soften. We have to both soften and get compassionate and really feeling. And yours is supposed to get spiritual. Look at you with your Pisces.
Mm-hmm.
North Node in Pisces. You're supposed to get into all this weirdness and strangeness and nebulousness.
Yeah. No, the water, all of my water placements are actually like my favorite ones in my chart.
That's
But
good.
yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
you're like, that's good. Good for you. No, but because I've learned that I need to soften. And also with this, I have a 12th house moon, yes. And it's also in Capricorn, which makes it very hard for me to access my emotions. And I've learned that the best way is to soften. That's really what I need to do. And that's what my North Node is really telling me to
Soften and surrender.
And surrender. And not get stuck in this Virgo detail oriented like
this is how it has to be.
very anal, like this is how it's supposed to be, yeah, and you're doing it wrong and let me redo it after you've done it.
Let me do it better.
Yeah, and it's so cringy. I cringe so much because I am like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like that. Damn it. Yeah. And I guess we all get stuck in our South nodes, but it's good to know that we can release that. It's like, okay, yeah, I know that energy. I don't need to like keep manifesting that.
Sometimes it's helpful just to know that's your default.
Exactly.
Oh, my default is workaholic. Oh, what do I need to do? Oh, I should probably take care of my health and be compassionate towards myself and rest and nurture myself. But that natural tendency is to just keep going, just keep working, keep working. And that's what it feels like to have a South Node in Capricorn.
Yeah.
So I have an article here, stylecaster.com. We'll put this in the show notes, the link in. It says everyone's birth chart contains these lunar nodes, and they represent the highest and lowest points of the moon's orbit, where the moon's orbital path crosses the sun's orbital path, otherwise known as the ecliptic. And while the highest point, the North Node, guides you toward your ultimate destiny, the lowest point, the South Node, tells the story of your soul's history. In other words, the North Node describes what you're meant to accomplish in this life, while your South Node represents what you're still carrying with you from past lives. Dun, dun, dun. So that's where you've really got to recognize you've got this growth that has to, occur. And the North Node doesn't typically get pulled into readings, I know, by me and many astrologers until people are into their 40s. It's really like that 40-year maturity time frame. And we go through a couple transits in our 40s. We talked about that. We did an episode on that, kind of like the midlife cycle transits. And that I think those transits are what help us to kind of open up to that North Node path.
It's like prime you.
Yes. So one of the transits is Neptune square to Neptune. And that is a spiritual connection square to your own spiritual connection in your body. So when you have that, it's a tension, and it has you questioning beliefs, has you questioning what do you actually know? Because Neptune, I like to think of as fog. And when you're in fog, your eyes are blinded, but you can hear really well. Your senses have to get like heightened in other ways, right? So it's like a blind person or a deaf person, their senses turn on in other ways. And that Neptune square Neptune feels like a transit to me that I'm in currently, but that really has you opening to this through that tension energy, that tension filled energy, because you start to sense maybe something isn't quite right that I was taught my past, or maybe I do know different things that I didn't know before. So I think those midlife transits really help to open the door.
And the North Node and the South Node, they're not they don't affect us in the way that planets does. So it's not part of our personality in the same way that that the planets are. And yes, the South Node, we just mentioned that it's different because it's not our personality, it's our pattern. It's a pattern that we know. So the North Node for you in Cancer, it's not something that is in your personality. It's more somewhere somewhere you're going towards. It's
Mhm.
this theme that you're going towards in this life.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so it's the theme rather than something coming from inside of you.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like it's the lessons we are given in life help us work towards that. So mine in Cancer, well, I have several children. And through the children, I have had to learn how to remother myself. And I find it so interesting because mine is at the tail end of the first house. My second house starts at, I think, 19 degrees. Yeah, 19 degrees. And my north node's 18 degrees. So it's still in that house of I. And now I'm 41 and I just started this Cosmic Mama collective where we learn to reparent ourselves and our children. And I'm like, holy North Node energy, Batman, right? Like, this is me leaning into this path or mission or area of life where I really still have to do some work and some healing and some growth.
Mm.
And that first house is how I show up. So I'm utilizing my past life energy and healing I have to do, and through my 12th house stuff with my heart and what I'm driven towards. And then my north node of going, hey, go that way, do the compassionate parenting mom thing. And I'm going, okay, all right, here I go. So I think it's interesting. My spouse also has, the only placement we have the same is our north node. He also has his north node in Cancer. So I want to chat about this because some people get really confused with this. So they're like, how does this work if, like him, I'm going to show you his chart. If, like him, you have a whole bunch of stuff in Capricorn. So he's got four things in Capricorn, but his north node is in Cancer. So he has to, what's interesting, he's got a 1-degree sun in Capricorn and a 5-degree Ceres in Capricorn. So his south node is right in between that.
Yeah.
So he has to utilize the current Capricorn energy he has to work hard, be structured and disciplined about nurturing himself, parenting, learning compassion in a new way, but utilizing his very Capricorn energy, both from his past life and this current existence. And he's got to work hard on it. Like, this is hard work to pour into this north node. But I know a lot of people get real confused at that. Like, well, if I have so much energy right around my south node, how do I, quote unquote, get out of it? Well, you don't get out of it.
No, it's also, I mean, it's something you had, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I said before that you can fall into that when you get too comfortable, but it's not a bad thing to have. It's the base. You already learned this energy. It just means that you don't need to stay there a whole lot. You don't need to try and be in that energy. You can venture out of that because you already have this base. You already know these things.
Yes.
And you can use those things in amazing ways.
Yeah.
That knowledge. It's great.
Absolutely. I also want to talk about, when we look at past lives, the 12th house is interesting because not only is it the planets that's there, but it's the energy coming from the planets that are there. And my husband's chart is interesting because his 12th house only has one thing in it, but it's a real active thing. So his moon is at 4 degrees Aries, and it's having 6 conversations. Actually, if I had it connected with North Node, it would be exact as well. He's got 4-degree moon and 4-degree North Node. So there would be a line there as well. So it's 7. His moon in the 12th house is having 7 conversations with other planets and spaces. So he really has to recognize how important his emotional life is, his emotional needs, his emotional healing in this current existence, because it's like beaming out of the 12th house at everything else in his chart. So his is a really active 12th house, even though there's only one thing in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just thinking about like past lives and how do we, if someone were to ask, like, why do I need to know about my past lives in astrology? Well,
Good
I
question.
think it's great. It's a great way for you to be humble with yourself, and more forgiving, and you understand yourself, and you understand that not everything is uh, is from this life. It came from something else. Like, for example, when you talk about Chiron is the wounded healer. That's also a very past life thing. It's a wound you bring with you
Yes.
from, it can come from early childhood, but a lot of time it comes from past generations or past lives as well. And you wonder, like, oh, I have Chiron in Taurus, but I don't remember being wounded in this life about food or whatever. And you might not understand why you have that, why you have a fear about something you have not experienced. Say you have, like, for me, I have Chiron in Cancer, a water sign, and I've nearly drowned several times this life. Like, why and why am I, why do I have certain fears when I haven't?
Yep.
All of those things. So that can be a great explanation. It doesn't come
Absolutely.
from life. Your fear in this life comes from an experience that you had in a past life.
Yep.
And by knowing that, you can start, you understand that concept, and then you can start working on it in a way that might not make sense for everyone to work on something that happened in the past life. But you can just accept that, like, okay, I might have drowned in a past life. Okay, so I need to work on being in water and being safe there.
Nice.
Doesn't make sense to anyone else, maybe, and maybe not completely to myself either, but that's what I should do.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, I always tell people when I do readings, I feel like Chiron is like this little, like if you could picture like a little suitcase, a little mini suitcase, and every baby that's born comes with their own little mini suitcase of bullshit to deal with. Like, here you go. Here's your self-esteem issues, your self-worth issues. Here you go. Like, you get to carry those with you and figure it out. So everybody has it. Some people's, like my husband's, it shows up right on his rising sign. So it's for him, it's 2 degrees away, less than 2 degrees away. So his wound from a past life is showing up, like really showing up with who he is, who he's meant to be. And Uranus is helping him with that right now.
Yeah.
This moment, he is learning how to change that dramatically. And it's funny because he's in the house baking bread right now, baking gluten-free bread. So, and we've got our gluten-free bakery going currently, and he's been selling loaves of bread, which is such a Taurus thing.
Very much.
Right? So I love that for him. But yeah, everyone's got that past life wound. So Chiron is definitely a past life thing to take a look at in a chart as well. So what else would people look at in a chart for past life information?
Saturn, but I just want to add that when I said that, the example of myself maybe drowning in a past life, it's not just because of Chiron's position. When I talk about this, there's many other inclinations in a chart. So it's not like if you have Chiron in Cancer, it means you drowned in a past life.
Right.
Just a little parenthesis.
Although there have been many souls that have drowned on this earth.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
there's a lot of shipwrecks that have happened in human history. So a lot of people have drowned.
Very true. Very true. But Saturn, the planet of karma, that can show us karma that we bring into this life from past lives.
Yep.
Yeah.
So karma is, I think, misunderstood what it really is. And it's an energetic exchange is the way I understand it. Like a certain energy goes out and a certain energy comes back again with the cyclical thing, right? So a karmic healing could be of this lifetime where we have to work on just a certain thing from this life, or it could be from past things. Now, Helena, I'm going to pull your chart up again because
go ahead.
You have a real fun Saturn here. You've got Saturn right next to Uranus. You were born in that generation that had these two planets right together. So you're in a really interesting karmic generational entrance. So everybody born in 1988 and around that time, actually a little bit earlier, a little bit later, but 1988 has this Saturn Uranus conjunction at some degree. Yours is quite tight, 26 and 27 degrees.
Mm.
So when you think about past lives and you think about these two together, what does that indicate to you?
Oh, it indicates like lessons learned and coming in, from all angles at times when you would never expect it.
Right?
Yeah,
Just
fast and
kind of
hard.
chaotic lessons, right? Just chaotic
Yeah.
lessons that show
Mm.
up. It feels very much like this. If I think about a story here, I think about the rebelliousness of Uranus. And so this tells me in a past life there was some type of rebellion, right? You were involved in some type of rebellious act, rebellious nature, right? So maybe you were part of a protest and you were killed while you were protesting for freedoms or something like that, because we are in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is all about freedoms and travels and learning and exploring and
Speaking out the
knowledge.
truth. Mm.
Right, speaking the truth out and calling out injustices, right? So this kind of unfolds into a story for my brain. Is there was a situation where your karma in a past life was you were standing up for something, you were really, serving the community, the people, really stepping into that, and there was some type of chaotic thing, some type of rebellion that you were involved in, and you probably died during that situation. Maybe a protest, maybe I don't know what, but now in this life you get to heal from that, and you get to learn
Mm.
how to have a rebellion in a more mature way.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this is also in the 12th house. Yeah.
Does that make sense for you? I feel like that
Mm.
that
It
you have
does.
that protester rebelliousness energy in
Yeah.
there.
I do. I mean, I have Saturn conjunct Uranus in Sagittarius. I ran away across the planet to the other side when I
Right.
was like 20.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. There it is right there.
had to do it. Yeah, that's very interesting. And
And I
yeah,
see
and
more of the story. I mean, it's not just those two. I'm seeing her chart as well. These two are also square to Mars in Aries. And again, Mars is war and Aries can be war.
yeah.
So it tells me that like she was most likely protesting some type of war or some type of injustice or some type of whatever, and maybe you were involved in a genocide, right? Like the Hiroshima or whatever, something like that, where there was just a massive amount of people that left at a certain time, and now you incarnated with these people with the same aspect, because Uranus is a
Mm,
slow moving planet and Saturn's a slow moving planet. So this tells me that most of the people born with this conjunction probably left at once as well.
mm,
Now you came back to really like heal that. And for you with this square to Mars, there is that war energy there as well. Not everybody in your generation will have the Mars square, but some of you do. So
mm.
I love the
Yeah.
stories that unfold when I look at people's charts when it comes to past lives.
Yeah, but because you, I mean, that's a gift that you have, that this it's like I imagine it's like someone, like you say sometimes, like someone puts on, like presses on a movie and it just starts playing in your head.
Yes. And then the
Yeah.
more I read the chart, now I'm looking and going, oh, well, that Mars is square to Chiron and Chiron is opposite that, right? So then I can keep going into a whole other realm of like, well, oh, Chiron was in Cancer. And if I keep thinking about what that would have looked like and why you would have manifested it in this life, I don't know, like the stories just all come together and make sense in my head. And my job is to try to spit it out fast enough in a coherent way. But
Yeah.
Saturn is definitely a karmic healing. And I find your Saturn placement particularly interesting because of its conjunction with this independent, rebellious weirdo,
Mm,
Uranus. So,
yeah. Yeah, and because these two are in the 12th house and opposite to Chiron, which is also that, that the wound that you bring with you, I feel like that's definitely like a connection, telling me a story of
Yeah.
of what I brought with me this life, because everything in this chart is not from like a specific past life.
No,
You can't bring everything with you,
no.
it's just
You
something
can't
like
you
this
can't
life.
heal everything at once either. You
Mm,
have to just work on one or two things.
exactly. So this life, my chart in this life looks like this is what I needed to bring with me and to work on and to
Yep.
live.
Yeah. And these two, Saturn, Uranus, are also opposite your Venus.
Yeah.
So the things you value, the relationships you have, right? So we've got to heal stuff like that, and the people that you've incarnated into your life. And you incarnate with interesting people. Like your partner is from the other side of the globe. You moved to the other side of the globe, opposite where your current partner is from. Like you've got very global experiences, and that's what Sagittarius is.
Mm.
Very global stuff. So I find it interesting that, and then your business partner that you do podcast with is
Yeah.
still on the other side of the globe, right? So you have very interesting global connections of relationships.
Mm. Yeah.
So we could like dive deeper into those and the past life connections there too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting. And also about Saturn in the 12th house, and like all of these things with Venus and all of this, and Uranus there, because I've always felt like an outsider growing up. And when I see my chart, I understand. It's because I am supposed to be, because all of the people that I connect with, I mean, I have friends here too, of course, but it's not been as easy to find them, and I don't have that many. I have like a handful of good ones, and because my values are so different, and I'm supposed to learn from people from everywhere, and that's why I feel different. And it's not, I mean, sometimes I can feel bad, but it's actually a strength to push me to learn more about other things in this life, not
For
just what
sure.
I see here.
For sure. And it's hard, and you have to be disciplined about it, which is probably why we do a podcast, because there's that responsibility there, right? That Saturn is responsibility, and you have this responsibility to do this. So, that is another aspect to this,
Yeah.
is making sure you're responsible about doing the healing and the connecting and the growing and learning. So I love that you have such a unique Saturn placement here. I think that's
Unique is the right word with Uranus.
want to get into Saturn and past lives. I mean, this is a pretty awesome placement to have it in the 12th house with Uranus, Neptune, and the moon. Like, girl, talk about past lives. We could do a 5-hour podcast just on your chart alone. It's fascinating stuff. But so past lives to me, I think, are helpful in so many ways, because it explains some of the knowing that we have, the inner knowing, where we just know something. We've been here before. We've experienced this before. We've felt this before. Certain people come into our life, right? How many times do we have very, very close, intimate relationships, friendships, loverships, business partners, and then poof, they're gone, right? Either you physically separate, or there's a death or divorce or whatever. And it's so interesting to me how many people come in and out of our lives and get real close, and then boom, and then real close and boom. And I always think, oh, they got their healing. We got what we needed out of that, and now that's done, right?
Yeah.
It's taken me a long time to get to that maturity level, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
But it is so intriguing how many people, incarnate with us.
It is, yeah. And with the 12th house, if you have 12th house placements, it can you can see a lot there. I mean, Saturn also represents sort of the father figure, father time, like responsibilities, so, and it can quite literally be like your dad or your granddad, or something like that. And same with the moon, it represents the mother. So it can be, all this feminine energy, with feeling your feelings and all of that, but it can also quite literally be your mom or
Yep.
your grandma
Yep.
or like another mother figure that you've had in your life, or
Yep. So just because I'm super intrigued and I'm going to pull it up, this is my newest baby's chart, Felix.
oh
And he
yeah,
past
oh
lives. So again, if you haven't listened to the episode, I think it's called Spirit Baby, right? I'm not sure.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we talk about this little incarnation that I just had. He just turned 5 months old. His chart has Aries and Pisces both in the 12th house. He's a Taurus rising. And he has Jupiter at 21 degrees, the sun at 21 degrees in Aries in the 12th house. Chiron's at 16 degrees Aries in the 12th. Neptune's at 26 degrees Pisces in the 12th. And Saturn's at 3 degrees Pisces in the 12th.
yeah. That is a lot. We have 5 placements here, and just that Jupiter Sun Chiron conjunction in the
Right.
12th house. I mean, you can read them apart and you can read them together, but all in all, this is just someone who has a lot of connection to his past lives for sure. Because you also see you can also check the aspects that these planets are making to other planets.
Right.
And we have the sun making a trine to his moon.
Yep. 26 degrees Sagittarius in the 8th house. So he's very, very deeply feeling.
And very connected to, like, very connected in a feeling, emotional way to all of this. And Neptune in a sextile to Pluto.
Yep.
Which is also, just transformation, and you feel very deeply. And Neptune belongs in the 12th house.
It does.
So
and it belongs in
that
Pisces.
and it belongs in Pisces, so that's like a triple whammy he has there.
Yeah.
And so this kid, because I have Neptune in the 12th house but in a different sign. And one of the things this does to me is that I always remember my dreams. I dream very vividly, and like when I wake up, it's not like I remember snippets. I remember, like, rolls of film of
Like the whole movie.
dream. Yeah, and we all dream, but it's like I am more the like, for maybe another person, it's like a wall. There's a line that crosses when you wake up. It's like, that. But for people with Neptune in the 12th house, that wall does not exist. So when I wake up, I bring the dream world with me to my awakened world.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's very intertwined, and sometimes, my day is very affected of what I dreamt. So he will be very connected to and affected by his dreams.
And then that's trying to Venus in Gemini. So he hopefully will be able to articulate them well.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting chart. I stare at this chart, and his north node is 3 degrees, or is 4 degrees Taurus, and his rising is 3 degrees Taurus. So his north node is literally, he is supposed to show up spiritually. Like, he is supposed to be, I just keep thinking this is like a little shaman. Like, I just gave birth to like this little spiritual shaman guru. And you guys listen to that episode if you haven't. This kid had me channeling. This is the baby that showed up uninvited. He didn't care. He's an Aries. He don't care.
No. And you had, I think you talk about that. I don't know if you do, and I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but I know that you had like quite a experience when you were pregnant with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not about was that about a past? Oh, you had many different things happening when you were pregnant with him.
Philip's past life.
It was.
Yeah, he had me channeling
Your
Philip's
partner.
past life, which the reason this was happening is because Philip is having a health concern, like a rash that won't go away, and the rash is part of the past life healing he has to do. Yeah. So the baby I was pregnant with had me channel a past life and then showed me solutions to healing this issue that resides inside of his physical body right now and is like lodged and stuck in there, and like what he needs to do to like break it up and get it out. And it was honestly, I've never done shrooms or LSD or anything like that, but I imagine this is very much what it's like. That's what I felt like I was tripping.
Yeah. And I feel like if or like when a person is pregnant, because there's that other soul inside of you,
Yeah.
then I guess, this, it's so trippy, because then with this person just sort of have dropped in on this earth, or dropping in on this earth now, it's very connected to the baby, is connected to its own past life very strongly, and it's in you now. So that would make you way more connected to like everything otherworldly as well. So pregnant ladies are like
super tuned in. It's everything gets more sensitive. Sense of smell, senses get more sensitive. And his natal Neptune is on top of my natal Mercury. So like we will always be like this. He will always be able to like intuitively talk to me, and he tells me exactly what he needs. I know instantly. It's not just like a mother thing. It's like I hear him in my head, and I don't tell many people that, except all the people I'm telling right now. But I hear him. And when you look at his chart and you understand anything about this, you go, oh, like this kid's got some massive spiritual powers and connectivity to spirit, past lives, and all of it, right? I'm super intrigued to see how this develops as he grows. But when we were talking about past lives and Saturn and all this, I was like, ooh, and Chiron. I was like, oh, I got the prime example here. And he just turned 5 months old, and he's the sweetest little peanut ever. I'm so grateful it's all in the house of Pisces, because gosh, it makes him so sweet. So sweet. Because it's a gentle energy. Pisces is gentle. Spirit is gentle. Humans are a little abrasive.
And if you want to see, like, you can put if you go to astro.com and you find synastry charts, and you put your chart in there, and whoever else you're intrigued about seeing if you have any past life connections, you do that. And for example, a very clear thing is if any of your planets or placements fall in the partner's 12th house and vice versa. That is a very typical and clear example of you have a past life connection. Things show up in each other's 12th house.
So my sun is conjunct my husband's moon in his 12th house, and I like to call myself his sticky booger. We just like spiritually, and our souls just stick together, and we've done this existence a couple times, and I just keep laughing. I was like, you can go, but I'll find you.
You can go in this life, but I'll find you in the next.
Yes, and we have done this before, and we just keep finding each other. And what I find intriguing is he is exactly 40 weeks younger than me. So I came in this world, and he showed up, and his parents were not trying for him either. He was a oops baby. So it was like, oh, Laura's there, I better go. And then he jumped in, and he's 40 weeks to the day younger than me.
That's awesome.
Fun? I love that shit. I love that. Oh, this is so fun talking past lives. I feel like it's something that it does affect us on a regular basis, and it's something we're going to see talked about more often, especially as Pluto moves into Aquarius season here for the next 20 years. We're going to see transformations in the weirdness of society and the way people view things. And I think all of this, as Saturn goes back, trekking through Pisces too. He's going retrograde right now, but as he goes back, trekking through Pisces, we're going to have this maturity around our connection with, that's
we are all of the time affected from our past lives. We just don't understand it.
Right.
It's subconscious. It's those subconscious things we do, the subconscious fears that we have.
Yeah.
The things we don't understand.
Read Dolores Cannon's books if you're interested. Go check out her stuff. Gaia TV is a great place to start too if you're interested. But I'll put some more links and stuff in the show notes. I've got a really good friend. Her name is Lacey, and she basically teaches this stuff. She takes you from like beginner to intermediate and advanced. And her and I are talking about putting together a program for people who are, or a masterclass for people who are interested in diving into this. It can be really overwhelming and very jarring, especially coming from a organized religion. If you're of that mindset and that's the belief that you are really, really in, and you're just coming out of that or expanding beyond that, and you want to still take some of that with you, right? How does that incorporate in? You know what I was thinking last night? Maybe I'll put this out into the universe right now. I would love to interview somebody with strong religious beliefs and see if we can have an intellectual conversation to bring astrology and religion together. Wouldn't that be cool? I just think that'd be intriguing too.
One doesn't have to, because I mean, just if you're religious, that doesn't mean that you cannot believe in astrology.
Exactly.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think, this is why I want to have conversations like with some religious folks and see if we can have some nice, healthy, merging intellectual conversations, right?
Yeah.
See how we can.
I mean, I feel like religion is something that is, it's about like what we do here on Earth, and astrology is just an explanation of who we are and why we are the way we are and how to use energy. So it's,
I always say this is like, people always say, oh, I wish God would have given us a map, and I'm like, well, he did.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Shall I read it for you? It's just in a different language, just like the Dead Sea Scrolls and all of that, right? Like I can read this for you.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to do a masterclass about, opening up into this realm and this kind of awakening, and what does this mean? What do you do with it? So it's such an intriguing topic. It's so big. It kind of feels vast and scary a little bit, and also intriguing. So if this is something you're interested in, let us know. Leave us a comment, shoot us an email. We'll put a bunch of stuff in the show notes, so you check that out. So anything else today?
No, go with peace.
Go. Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of RamGoatAstrology. You can support the show by buying us a coffee or a tea. Link in the show notes. Your financial support means the world to us. Join us next time.